So, 18%, huh? 18% of every single dollar that the average American makes for their whole life will go to their health care. If I wasn't being held down and having it taken from me, I might be into that number. But most of us think it's large. And yet, I'm going to propose to you today that it's actually not the worst thing. The worst thing is that for 18 going on 20% of our entire life's work going to health care, we can't seem to make it an expression of our humanity. We can't trick it out with blue lights and spinners and pick someone up with it. We can't, if we get pissed, say, "You're fired," and take our money and put it into Grecian columns or the kids' education. Furthermore, as caregivers, like this poor guy, we often find our creative urges trapped by concerns about malpractice, or did I get the right code, or what's our policy, or what's the most recent definition of quality. Well, I'm going to suppose to you today that the biggest problem underlying this trapping of our humanity is the fact that our profit motive, and by the way, we all have it, is trapped in a weak marketplace. And the solution I can get to as soon as we talk about the doughboy. You remember this? Rolling Stone, 1980s. You could mail in $1 and you could get this bumper sticker. What's the doughboy afraid of? And the ad was put in Rolling Stone by these two ice cream entrepreneurs up in Burlington, Vermont, Ben and Jerry, who, with Chunky Monkey and Cherry Garcia, were making great strides in the freezers of mini-marts across the nation, and of course creating the diabetes epidemic of 2012, but we'll get back to that in another speech. And as they grew, they started to chafe at the good people of Haagen-Dazs, which of course were owned by the good people of Pillsbury. And so Pillsbury sent their trucks and salespeople to the mini-marts of America and said, "You pull that Ben and Jerry from your freezer, or we will pull Haagen-Dazs and every other Pillsbury product from your shelves." Predatory capitalism, right? Now, we don't have that in healthcare. We have beautiful patches on our jackets, and we wear bow ties, and we have mission statements a mile long written in granite in our lobbies. And man, do we have nice lobbies. Can we give it up for Phoenix Children's? That is gorgeous. And by the way, we make pretty good money. So MD Anderson, a nonprofit that I happen to love, turned a 26% margin last year. Awesome. And of course the CEO made $1.9 million and was allowed to do side deals with pharmaceutical companies as well. And Stanford, who only made a 12.7% margin on $500 million, the guy didn't get to do the side deals, but he made his $1.9 million. And if you look at all nonprofits in the nation overall, on average, they made an 11.7% profit margin. It's not like real for-profit companies, not like Exxon, the greatest capitalist vulture of all time, who made 12.1%. Merck made 13% with their monopoly power on their inventions. But I got to take it one step further, and I hate to do this because we all have nonprofit hospitals that we love, but it actually isn't the marble and the big cardboard checks that you see them giving to community clinics or the huge salaries or profit margins. It's the tactics that really reveal that the profit margin is alive and well. They would make old J.D. Rockefeller blush. I'm going to tell you one quick story, and I'm going to use my absolute favorite hospital in the world. Sorry, it's Mass General. It is my favorite hospital in the world. They partnered back in 1993 with the other big academic medical center because in the mid-90s, healthcare was annoyingly affordable. Annoying if you're one of the hospitals. It was actually getting cheaper as a percentage of GDP from 89 to 95. So these guys got together, got 6 community hospitals, purchased 1,200 doctors and said, "We're now partners," literally and figuratively. They then went to the rest of the doctors with privileges, about 5,000, and said, "You're going to start using a special computer system that we've built, which connects to our hospitals and imaging centers. And if you don't use our special system, which only connects to us, you will not be allowed to use our hospitals." And so the doctors caved and they got on the system. Then they went to the blue plans and they said, "You are going to start to pay more." And every plan in the state started to pay 6 to 8% more every year. Between 2000 and 2009, these guys got a 75% cumulative price hike out of the health plans. The health plans tried to fight, but what are you going to do? Try to not sell partners in your health plan network? So they offered a side network. Here's your discount network, and it doesn't have partners in it, but it's 20% cheaper. Partners found out and said, if you offer any price transparency across the rest, so any consumer could save money by avoiding us, we will prevent any of your members from going to any of our institutions or doctors. And the health plans caved. Now, I said I picked my favorite, Invincible brand, well-deserved, right? Yale New Haven just announced to the doctors in Connecticut, if they don't get onto the closed system that is being perpetuated there, they will not be allowed to use Yale New Haven. Can you imagine being an orthopod in New Haven who doesn't get to use Yale? Is Yale bad guys too? No. And here's the point. They were trapped by their excellence. I'm going to propose a new clinical condition to you guys. Upper right quadrant syndrome. If you do really well in your market, you will move up and to the right and up and to the right until you are trapped as the very best. If you are, by the way, not in healthcare, you can still be trapped. Poor Microsoft is stuck up there, right? Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, no offense, all my friends work there, but they're stuck up there. It's not bad people that make this case, it's this condition. And we'll talk about it in a minute. But first, is it inevitable? If you always just gotta get good, and then when you're up there, you just gotta start acting this way, is that true? What about this guy? Remember John Mackey, Whole Foods? This kook, he says, come along with me, let's pay 30% more for your food. Hey, but I'm going to give it to you with a provenance. I'm going to give you its roots and its heritage. I'm going to get some that's grown locally. I'm going to throw in an apothecary and some massage oils. Heck, I'm going to cook it after it gets old. I'm going to take your restaurant budget so you can put it into my store. At $11.7 billion in revenues with 73,000 employees, he's not yet at 2% market share. Check in with yourself about how you feel about the brand Whole Foods. Good brand. He's running. He's growing. He has much more to gain. And it's not just him, right? It's all of the 73,000 people at their granular level doing their jobs in departments and teams know that there's much more to gain by going and getting those 98% of people who haven't yet been touched by the miracle than there is to gain by jacking the 2% of people we've already got. Well, what if you had 30% market share and your legal maximum was 50? It's getting kind of tight up and to the right. Right? What about this guy? This guy steps in, gets fired, comes back, steps in, and he's running a laptop company. But is it a laptop company? He says, no, that's not enough. I'm getting bored. It's too small. It's a computing soul factory. I'm going to take the hardware. First, he's going to take the hardware and the software. And he's like, wait, I want to have the content in the hardware and the software. And then I want to have it sit on a cloud that I also control. And so today, they can have $156 billion in revenue and still be growing and still have less than 16% market share. If Evil Bill and Evil Ted took over Apple, and I'm not saying that about the nice guy from Alabama, they would still want to evangelize, to say, come along with me and try this new way of thinking about computing rather than jack those few people who are already in their market share. They escaped URQS. How do you cure URQS? You redefine your addressable market at any size of your growth so that the amount of room up and to the right is so vast that your id won't let you go after your existing clients. You can feed your profit motive, and I hope I convince you that we've all got it, and it's okay. Come on out of the closet. It's fine. You can feed that profit motive and pay those salaries and find those new frontiers up and to the right. You'll be doing a lot of good that way. One, you'll chafe the establishment of some other frontier that you haven't touched yet. And two, if people don't switch to you, they'll feel better about their choice. They'll stay on their Microsoft, Dell laptop and say, you're darn right, because I paid half as much and I don't really care about email. It feels better to be on the thing if you weren't jammed on it. Does that make sense? Now, is there something special about URQS that prevents healthcare from solving this problem? Well, actually, yes. Ironically, because we love our healthcare so much and care about it so deeply, we stop the crazy ones from coming in. We stop the redefinition that we need to grow and stretch and break our product set. So, for example, it happens to be illegal for entrepreneurs to deliver healthcare. It's called corporate practice of medicine law. Your business has to be 51% owned by doctors. Most of my friends are doctors. I do not want them to run my business. God bless you guys. You need a certificate from the governor in many states called a certificate of need if you want to build a hospital. The governor has to determine that there's a shortage of hospital beds. It's like, well, what if I think there's just a shortage of hospitals that treat me okay? Or that look better, or that don't have pavilions or grand pianos, right? We need to let go of precious. Precious is very big. It's a $2 trillion baby. It's going to be okay. And as we do, precious will start to grow up. Here's how I think it could happen. Entrepreneurs are going to get out on the field. I don't care if it's illegal. Get a freaking lawyer and figure it out. There's got to be a way around that stuff. You need to get out onto the field. Do not sell shrink-wrapped chunks of software or patented drugs or devices that only you have the code to at 90% margins and run like hell before you find out what happens. Get in there and deliver the care. It is we entrepreneurs who figured out how to get people to build an entire language around freaking latte. We know how to get people to come back and adopt a new behavior. Not these poor doctors like, you're a population manager now. Oh, yeah, right. I'm a population manager. Do I need more of the butcher paper over my tables for that? Only $895 million was spent on disruptive technologies and healthcare delivery in 2009. $895 million, that's valet tips at one hospital. Now, you doctors, many of whom are my clients, and I'm sorry, please don't fire me at the result of this speech, you guys aren't going to take it, are you? But don't go join your medical society and jam the entrepreneurs. Turn around and jam the hospital. You know, just as there are things on your calendar every day that don't need a doctor to do it, there are things going on in that hospital you could do in your exam room or in a little surgery center off to the side, and you could do it for half price. You could split the profit between whoever's underwriting that care and yourself. You could make more money doing good. You community hospitals, what the hell is the health plan doing anyway? Go take that thing over. Then when the doctor starts a little surgery center for less, you'll profit from pulling that care out of your hospital. And as you do, you'll turn around and jam that tertiary medical center downtown, right? And you'll pull that secondary care back out. And then we get stuck in the upper right quadrant, the real upper right quadrant, the place we feel emotional. And when tragedy strikes, we feel particularly emotional. What are they going to do? Well, why does the best doctors in the world only get to treat the people of Eastern Massachusetts? What do they got? If they're really the best doctors in the world, how about they treat the world? 88% of Mass General's patients are from Eastern Massachusetts. Why? Get rid of the colonoscopies that you do for 40%, according to our data, more than Tufts at 0.8 miles away, and take that space and do radical surgery. Buy a jet, not a closed computer system, and fly in the surgeries that no one else can do. Do 10 times the volume. I already saw where Lowe's stores did it with Cleveland Clinic. You know that Lowe's pays 20% less than they would used to pay locally to get open heart surgery in these little communities with Lowe's stores in them, and they fly the people to Cleveland Clinic to get it? Cleveland Clinic's loving it. Open heart, Toby Cosgrove, you, right? And Lowe's is loving it. I'm taking my wife to Cleveland Clinic for this surgery. You know, everyone's loving it. And it's cheaper. There is the possibility, by releasing the hounds upon ourselves, by allowing a market to swirl out around us, to define a frontier that is quite beautiful. And I think this is why we were so emotional in the first place, right? As caregivers, we want to be needed in the moment. We don't want to feel like anybody could be doing it, but we need to because our dance card is empty. As hospitals, we are corporate doctors. We are corporate expressions of that same doctor energy. We want the same thing. We want to be needed in our medical capabilities, right? As patients, we want to trust. We want to get to you and say, yes, you have me. Here is my child. I want you to do whatever you can do. And by the way, if it doesn't work, I'm okay with it. Because I know the other stuff was already done by all kinds of people, way cheaper and less knowledgeable than you. This, to me, feels like an expression of humanity. Thank you guys very much.